Today, Intel's next-gen CPUs are worse in gaming than current gen. I mean, there's some potential good news with it, but before I get to that, I've got some great deals. Nvidia's consumer CPU is coming, and there's new details on the RTX 5080 and 5070. Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. Okay, it's news time, and first up for today, it's Amazon's Prime Big Deal Days events, which actually looks to have even better deals than their normal Prime Day. And I thought I'd go over some of my favorite PC hardware deals, and I tried my best to find real deals by looking at past pricing. You'd be surprised how many looked like a deal, but the price literally went up from its past pricing. Either way, I'll have affiliate links to all of these down in the description below. They don't cost you anything more, and it helps the channel out. Starting things off, as obviously this is a Prime Day deals event, you do have to have Prime, but luckily they're offering Prime for free for 30 days right now, so check that out if you like any of these deals. And the first deal, believe it or not, is actually the 14,900K. Now, the reason you might want this CPU is if you do a little bit of gaming, but also do a lot of productivity. Of course, if you exclusively game, you're going to want to check out the 7800X3D instead. Either way, this one is 19% off, down to $445. Moving on, we have the WD Black 1TB SSD. This is PCI Express Gen 4, but it is a really fast SSD. There are some that are cheaper than this, but this is a real deal and not a bad price at all. This one's 1TB for $75. Moving on, we have a Corsair RM850X. This is a fully modular power supply, and of course, if the leaks that have been coming out about the RTX 5000 series are correct, you're likely going to need a better PSU, and this one is $50 off. It's absolutely a great PSU from Corsair, bringing it down to $100. Moving on, we have the Corsair Vengeance DDR5 memory, 32 gigabytes at 6,000 megahertz. Well, 6,000 megatransfers per second. It's technically 3,000 megahertz, but regardless, this one's just $100. Then, moving on to GPUs, this is wild. We have a 7900 XTX all the way down to $788, and then we have a 4070 Ti Super down to $749.99. Both of these, as you'll see, this is actually an overview, a geo-mean of everything. This is rasterization as well as ray tracing, and as you can see, for the pricing, they're about what you would expect. If you prefer rasterization, you'd likely be better off with the 7900 XTX, but if you prefer ray tracing, you'd probably be better off with the 4070 Ti Super. And next up for today, Nvidia's upcoming consumer CPU is getting closer and closer. Now, before I get to this, of course, it does say AI PC CPU, but like I've gone over in the past, don't forget that because this is made for consumers, yes, it is talking about AI, so it likely does have a really good NPU or something like that, but it's also gotta have a CPU to handle the normal Windows tasks, as well as an integrated GPU so it can handle graphics. It's gotta have all of this, and obviously, they're likely gonna wanna target professional use cases and things like that as well. Either way, according to this, which originally comes from a leak on the Weibo forums and later shared by the Chinese site IT Home, and according to this, the CPU is entering the tape-out phase of production this month, with mass production on track for late 2025. Not only that, but as you can see right here, this is apparently set to be based on 3 nanometers. Basically, this CPU is shaping up to potentially be one beast of a chip, and Intel and AMD may really need to start worrying. And next up, we have a very interesting new leak regarding Nvidia's RTX 5080 as well as their 5070. First up, when it comes to the 5080, this originally comes from WCCF Tech, where it claims that the 5080 could debut with 32 gigabit per second chips instead of the previously rumored 28. As they state, these are the fastest GDDR7 modules currently being sampled by graphics card manufacturers, and basically what it does is, even with the 256-bit bus, with how fast that is, it's actually able to slightly surpass the 4090. Of course, with that said, this is only memory speed. It's still going to have an issue when it comes to memory capacity at 16 gigabytes, but hopefully this will at least help. And this of course brings us to the RTX 5070, and this one is coming from Kopite 7 Chemi, once again a very trustworthy leaker that's leaked tons of stuff for Nvidia GPUs before they were announced in the past. Either way, according to this one, you can see that the 5070 is based on the GB205, and it features, according to this, up to 50 SMs. Not only that, but Kopite 7 Chemi claims that the 5070 will be a 250 watt card, which once again is an increase over last gen, specifically a 50 watt increase over the RTX 4070. Just like the 5080, it's also apparently confirmed that the card does still come with 12 gigabytes. That obviously is a massive disappointment, but we'll find out the rest of that supposedly at CES. I'm not really sure if the actual 5070 itself will be announced at CES, but of course time, as always, will tell. And lastly for today, we have some terrible news for Intel's next generation desktop Core Ultra 200 series CPUs, at least when it comes to gaming. As you can see right here, this actually leaked. Apparently this originally came from Intel and was sent to Chinese outlets where they then leaked it, which means that this is apparently official. And as you can see, starting things off, we have the 14900K versus the new Core Ultra 9 285K. And according to this is clearly gaming. We're looking at 264 FPS for the current gen versus 261 for the new series CPUs. The good news is that apparently it dropped in wattage by 80 watts, down from 527 watts to 447, so that definitely is good. And there's actually another slide that further shows this. This is actually the 7950 X3D instead of the 7800 X3D, but obviously the 7950 is going to be closer to this higher end CPU, but regardless, in gaming, it looks like the 7950 X3D does in fact win, but when we look over here, you can see we have Puget Bench, Blender, Geekbench, Cinebench 2024, so these are obviously all professional workloads, and here, Intel's CPU crushes AMD, given these benchmarks are right. I mean, we're talking upwards of 30% more performance in POV ray. Basically, this is looking like it might be really good for professional workloads and okay when it comes to gaming, but not as good as AMD's, but then AMD's may be better in gaming, but potentially not as good in more professional workloads. Either way, obviously, we want to wait until these are actually announced before we can definitively say one way or the other, but at least for now, it does look like it isn't as good in gaming. So while that does it for today, let me know what your favorite Prime Day deal is down in the comments below. And don't forget to check out the affiliate links down in the description below. And as always, have a great day.